All right, guys, let's go over some algebraic proofs here, okay? So again, this is kind of just laying the foundation for getting into some geometric proofs by starting with things that you hopefully remember from your days in middle school. So this first statement, all right, the justification that we're always going to see in all of our proofs is going to be the statement that is given. So we write given. Now you can see to get from that first statement to the second statement, they have taken the 2 at the very beginning and distributed it to the x and the 3. So this is the distributive property. Okay, after that, once we look at how they've gotten to the next line, they have combined the 6 and the -5 to get +1. So that is going to be combining like terms. Okay, now to get to the next step, we're going to take that 1 and move it to the other side by subtracting 1. This is called the subtraction property of equality. Then once we do that, we're going to simplify, right? Because the idea is that the +1 and the -1 should become 0, and then -15 minus 1 becomes, actually should be -16 there. Don't worry about that error. No, that's not what I'm worried about. Now, when we look at the next step, all right, so this will be -16. When we look at the next step, we are moving the 5x to the other, the -5x to the other side with addition. So that's going to be the addition property of equality. All right. I'll just make that a 16 as we go, okay? All right. Then what they did was they simplified, okay, just like we did in the previous step where the -5x and the 5x on the right side become 0. And now we have the 5x on the other side. To get to that next step, we have 2x plus 5x. That's combining like terms. To get that 7x, and then we're going to move the 7x to the other side with the division property of equality. All right, and then our solution is going to be -16/7. All right, so this is the solution. Okay, so that's just a kind of a little bit of a brief kind of overview of how we're going to be justifying some statements when we do proofs, okay? Okay, now let's talk about some properties that hopefully you remember from your days in the lower school or elementary school or grade school, wherever you were. If you don't remember these, that's okay, but they're going to be properties that are going to help you with solving your algebraic equations. So the first one you can see we have 5 times 6 equals 6 times 5, right? This is where you change the order of multiplication, but it doesn't change the actual answer. This is what we call the commutative property. And you hopefully learned that the commutative property applies for addition and multiplication. Now, the next one you see that the 3, the 5, and the 6 are actually in the same order on both sides of the equation, but the parentheses have changed. So when we change the parentheses, it does change the order in which we do it, but we call this the associative property. Okay, now this next one we have 0 times 7 equals 0. This is the 0 property of multiplication. The idea being that if you multiply anything times 0, you will get 0. 1 times 15 equals 15. There's kind of 2 ways to answer this. All right, you can say this is the identity property of multiplication, or the multiplicative. I think I spelled that wrong. That's okay. Identity. Or again, like I said, you can say the identity property of multiplication. All right, and then this next one here, we did actually in one of our justification steps on the previous question. That's distribution, so that's the distributive property. And then finally, when you add 0 to a number, your number is going to stay the same. So this is the addition identity, or the identity property of addition, or the additive identity. I'll put property there just to keep it the same. Okay, so just a quick review there, and you can see some of the properties that we used on the previous question with our proof justifications. All right, so again, this is just laying the foundation, getting you ready for some geometric proofs.